From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and All India Radio, this is Stumped.
Hello and welcome to Stumped, your intercontinental hit of news, features and debate from the quirky world of cricket. I'm Alison Mitchell in Australia, and as we look ahead to 2023 now, first of all, it's to say Happy New Year, but also just to pick out a few things to look forward to. And well, I've got to say that with the Women's IPL approaching, before that, there will be a T20 World Cup held in South Africa. But goodness me, if India can get to the final and can actually lift that trophy, I think the women's cricket world is waiting for an explosion of interest. Can India do it? They fell just short at the Commonwealth Games. This is their next big chance.
Hi, Jim Maxwell from Sydney, and it's going to be a golden year. And maybe with a twig of wattle in our hands, because I think Australia will win most of the tournaments they play in. They'll win the Ashes, T20 in India, South Africa. It's just what they do. It doesn't take much to be modest about Australia's achievements, does it? But they'll be good contests. That's the most important thing. And we're going to love watching them and talking to them, to you, about it during Stump next year. So Happy New Year, everyone.
Hello, everyone. This is Charu Sharma in the middle of Rajasthan on a wonderful winter break. It's my home state, as it were. Love being here. I'm glad I am. So good luck for 2023. I have two wishes for 2023. One, of course, for Australia to be knocked off every perch. But we'll see what happens. But more importantly, what's the big game changer? Because in men's cricket, we've seen it all, really. We've got the T20 World Cup, the ODI World Cup, Test matches, and championships, and so on and so forth. But I do believe, and I look forward, and Alison, you'd love this. I'm hugely looking forward to finally the start of the women's IPL, because that's going to be the big game changer. It's going to be the future of the game for women. And I don't know whether the Indian women will do well, as you hope, and so do I, at the World Cup. But regardless of that, I have no doubt that the women's IPL is going to change the game for women cricketers in India, and perhaps for women cricketers around the world, because if it gets to be anywhere near as lucrative as the IPL, then I'm sure women cricketers will see that as a massive step forward in the professionalization of the game. So I wish that luck, and I hope it gets decent ratings and the commercial circles start ringing.
Well, yep, it's a huge year, no doubt about it. But Jim, I got a little bit of an issue with Australia sweeping everything, because the Aussies have not yet come up against Bazball, have they, on English territory? So let's just see how the men's Ashes plays out, shall we? Now, 2022. It's been a year in which the Gujarat Titans won the Indian Premier League in their very first season. Australia's women are once again top of the world after winning both the Commonwealth Games and the 50-over World Cup. Test match cricket will never be the same after Bazball was invented. And India has a new star at the age of 32 in Surya Kumar Yadav. Now, throughout the year, we've tried to keep you entertained and informed with our weekly mix of news, features and debate from the quirky world of cricket. And this week, we're going to take a chance to look back on some of the highlights from the show this year. We have to start with reflecting on the biggest cricket story of the year. On the 4th of March 2022, the cricketing world was brought to a halt when legendary leg spinner Shane Warne died at the age of just 52. It was about 7 p.m. in India, the middle of the night in Australia, when his management let the world know that Warne had died on holiday. He was the king of spin, cricket's greatest ever leg spinner, arguably cricket's greatest bowler, and surpassed only by the great Sir Donald Bradman as Australia's greatest cricketer. His sudden death shocked all of us around the world, and also those who might have only had a passing interest in cricket itself. Warne was not only a master of his art, who could bamboozle the greatest of batters with his leg spin, but his bleached blonde hair of his younger days and his charismatic personality, which endured to the very end, meant that he was an Australian icon who transcended the sport. Now, keeping wicket to Warne from 1999 through to the end of his international career was Adam Gilchrist, who joined us on the show and started by giving us his reaction to the news.
Hi, Ali, Jim, Charu, great to be seeing you and chatting with you, obviously, preferably under different circumstances, into what has been quite the most unbelievable. I think I've never used that term and tried to mean it so much as of what has happened in the last 7 days. But even to this point, I think we're all still finding it hard to believe that it has happened. But look, we push on and we band together, and that's what's happened, hasn't it? The tributes, the reaching out of people of just wanting to hear each other's voice, if nothing else, has been quite remarkable. And I guess at the end of the day, Warnie liked to shock us in everything he did, and that's the way it's finished for him. But the legend will continue to grow.
Yeah, you worked all summer with him in the Fox Sports commentary team. Had you spoken to him recently, just before he went to Thailand? When was the last time you had contact?
Yeah, spoke to him about a week before. Obviously, was basically sitting alongside him most of the summer, and then received a text from him. Oh, look, I assume can't be more than a few hours before he passed away. He sent me a really nice message, just acknowledging the tribute that we've had done, and that I had the absolute honour of providing the voiceover to the pictures that our production team at Fox put together to acknowledge Rod Marsh. And that was, as I say, a really challenging thing to do, but it was a huge honour. And I think it like so many of these tributes, it came up really nicely. And Warnie messaged me just to say, well done, Church. He referred to me as Church in relation to a nickname that probably only those in the inner sanctum ever heard of, Eric Gill Church, which a young English fan gave me way back in 1997. But it felt like a term of endearment, still does whenever anyone calls me that. So I guess that means someone knows a bit about me if they refer to me as that. So that was Warnie's way. And working with him all summer. Just reflecting on all the thoughts and around the commentary, Warnie he had such brilliance in commentary. We all joked at times that sometimes when he got onto a good point, he probably hammered the point a little bit too much. He probably went over it and backed over it and drove over it again. And everyone would laugh, sort of quietly saying, come on, Warnie, your point is brilliant, but don't go overboard. And then all of a sudden signs would appear in the change room, in the commentary box from production staff saying, just let it breathe, let it breathe. And Warnie, being Warnie, would turn around and go, who are they written that for? So it probably, he missed it a little bit, but gee, he was astute. He could be so brilliant, and so often was, and honest, and had an opinion. And that's what I think everyone will always allow someone to have, and that's an opinion. Whether you agree or disagree, we hope that in the societies we live in, that everyone's allowed that and entitled to it, and then hopefully it can be respected. So Warnie had all that. He was box office, wasn't he? Everything he did, whether you wanted to agree or wanted to look or not, you tend to find yourself just glancing and taking a look, just in case something magical happened.
Hello, Gilly. Jim Maxwell in Sydney. Yes, it's a shock to everyone. Just talking about the relationship, I mean, you mentioned Marsh, and he had a great relationship with Dennis Lilly, Alan Knott and Derek Underwood. Ian Healy had worn, and then you took over from Healy. Were you able to read his mind as much as Ian Healy seemed to be able to do? What was it like keeping to Shane Warne?
I would hate to have got inside the mind of Shane Warne. I would have had nightmares. I wouldn't have been able to sleep. But I say that in jest. The greatest pleasure was to wicket keep to him, and then at the end of the over, I had the pleasure of standing next to him while he's at first slip. So I knew Warnie and his insights and his mindset extremely well. And you're right about that keeper-bowler relationship, Jim, particularly with Heels. I mean, Heels was another hero of mine. He was in a position that I aspired to be in. And I don't mean that in a way that, come on, get out of there. When Heels started, I looked and just thought, imagine being in that position after, Rod Marsh had been there. So I idolised Ian and then watched the work that he did with Shane. And that was the most nervous component of me moving into Test cricket, was just trying to maintain or get anywhere near that standard and that partnership that they had, because I knew how vital that partnership was for Shane, that Ian Healy's, masterful glove work was paramount importance for Warnie to succeed the way he did. I could pick Warnie out of the hand. I don't think he would ever have said that he was a difficult bowler to pick, but there's a big difference between reading him and then being in the right position, either to hit it or to wicket keep to it. So, I just, that's what I worked hardest at, just trying to get that right. And it took a little bit of time, although, look, every batter talks about 100 on debut. I didn't get that. I got better. I got a leg side stumping off Shane Warne on debut. So that was good enough for me. I wouldn't say I was perfect to Warney right from test one. I learned a great deal, but it was, again, the highlight, and to have affected 59 dismissals in partnership with Shane, which I think is the most that he had in partnership with any wicketkeeper. Well, there's only two of us really. So, yeah, that was a huge thrill and pleasure.
Well, that's former Australia wicketkeeper Adam Gilchrist paying tribute to his dear friend Shane Warne, who died this year at the age of 52. Now, it was a standout year for the next star cricketer that we're going to hear from. England's Test team started 2022 with Ashes humiliation down under, losing the series 4-0 against Australia. Confidence was low. There were calls for major change. Well, in came a new coach, a new captain, and an exciting yet unpredictable style of cricket that got dubbed Bazball. One player who flourished under the new regime of Brendan McCullum and Ben Stokes was Jonny Bairstow. He hit 6 Test centuries in 2022 and reached 10,000 Test runs, becoming only the 11th English batter to reach that milestone. Unfortunately, though, in September, he broke his leg in a freak accident whilst playing golf, and that ruled him out for the rest of the calendar year. He was awarded the Bob Willis Trophy after being voted England's Player of the Year by the Cricket Writers Club. And just after that, I asked him what his favourite moment of the summer was.
I can't remember any of it. It's all a blur. Do you know what? Like, it's one of those summers that we'll remember as a group of people and I'm sure as a cricketing nation. And we'll look back and go, I remember the 2005 Ashes summer very, very fondly. And it's that kind of summer that then I was inspired by the guys in 2005 with the spectacle they put on, and I'm hopeful that we as a group of people have inspired the next generation, if you like to say, or however you want to put it, or even people that haven't played the game of cricket that have flicked on and we've entertained them. So to point out one thing, I don't think it's fair, and it probably wouldn't be one of the hundreds, to be honest with you.
What would it be?
Well, I just look at the shifts in which, from a vocal side of things, like from a way of going about it, from the approach that we've tried to go about it, we've been brave enough to speak about going towards the danger. We've won 6 out of 7 Test matches this summer, which hasn't been done for a long, long time. So we must be doing something right, and we've been brave enough to take that challenge head on.
What do you like about Brendan McCullum and working with him and Stokes in partnership?
He's a hell of a bloke, a great guy. He's a good golf partner because his handicap should be less than what it is. But, that's it's always a plus when you're playing on his team. I just think that the way in which he went about the game, and then how he's tried to empower people to play it, a game with freedom and bravery, is a different way of looking at Test cricket, which, like I mentioned, it's not going to work every single time. But I think that understanding that we're playing at the highest level and we've got to enjoy that rather than heaping a load of pressure on ourselves whilst we're doing it, which at times can be tricky to separate the two, is one thing. But then building that relationship with Ben as well. And the relationship is still building and will carry on to build. But the common vocals that they're speaking about all the way through the summer, I mean, you'll have said, I'm sure when you've spoken to both of them, they're both singing off the same hymn sheet. And the consistent messaging that's been there all the way through it is from both of them. So I think it's a very strong thing to have as a leadership pair. Because look, we weren't in a good place at the start of the summer as a group of players. As England cricket, we weren't really in an amazing bit, and it's actually quite interesting to hear the shift of people now speaking about Test cricket being stronger than white ball cricket. It's like, hang on a minute, and then questioning things about the white ball team, and you're going, hang on a minute, like Oh, well, yeah, it's not this strong. It's changed. We're in a transition. It's like, well, we're not really in a transition. Yes, Morg has stepped down from captaincy, but other than that, there's not many personnels that look like changes. The bowlers haven't been fit. We're missing 5 or 6 people from the white ball team that was we would have liked, but that's exactly the same as what happened in the red ball side. Like there was 5 or 6 people missing in the red ball side that over a period of time that we'd have liked to have played, of course. So it's interesting how the shift then changes from side to side. But like I say, with Baz and Ben, the constant messaging has been fantastic, and the buy-in from the boys has been brilliant too.
That's England's Jonny Bairstow speaking to me back in October, and we really do wish him a speedy recovery. Well, Bairstow was picked up by the Punjab Kings in the Indian Premier League mega auction, which is where we're going to finish our look back of 2022. The auction itself stole the headlines when the main presenter fell ill, and our very own Charu Sharma had to step up to take over proceedings. Here is Charu telling us exactly what happened.
There I was, returning from the coffee plantation last week. Remember, I did that show in Mysore. Somewhere along the way, we stopped and I got back home. It was supposed to be an average, unremarkable weekend with the family. And then I get a phone call, and then, what can I say? It led to some pretty dramatic scenes over the weekend.
So you weren't, Charu, at the auction anyway. I presumed that Hugh Edmeades sort of collapsed, and thankfully he was okay, and you just got sort of hauled straight up. How did it happen?
The shortest end is that I was at home having lunch with the extended family, and I got a call from Brijesh Patel, who's a friend of mine. Of course, he is the chairman of the IPL, but much more a friend from Bangalore, runs the Karnataka State Cricket Association for many years. He said, Charu, where are you? I said, at home. He said, can you get to the ITC Gardenia immediately? And I said, well, I suppose I could. What's the problem? He said, well, our auctioneer, unfortunately, just collapsed, had an incident. And so he said, you got just enough time to put on a suit and get here as quickly as you can, which I did. And then, one just, sort of carried on, because it's like a little river that you immerse yourself in and just go with the flow. And I don't want to undermine or underestimate the auctioneer's job in a sporting scenario, but really it's pretty elementary, because the players are the center of attraction and you just have to go along the auction book. So it wasn't traumatic at all, but it seemed that a lot of people didn't really expect it of me. So, that was the funny part. But anyway, Alison, Jim, you know how it is. I mean, it's really about the players. And if you're in the auctioneer's seat, all you need to bother about is what's the next team coming up. And you don't really get carried away with the figures. It's all for the players. And it's all one fuzzy couple of days, because I don't remember who went to whom for how much, It was just
all right, that could be a problem for the next 5 minutes of this podcast.
No, well, I've done a little bit of homework before the show, so.
Well done to Charu for all of that. And congratulations to Gujarat Titans, who won the Indian Premier League in their very first season. Now, nearly every week, Stump broadcasts to you via 3 different continents, with guests joining us from all over the world. But sometimes we have another welcome guest try to join us on the show. It's Jim's dog, Rusty.
Look at this tyrant.
Oh, he's so cute.
This is little Rusty.
You're stealing the show, Jim. You better watch it.
Now you go and chase a ball, mister. Away you go.
Well, that is it for the best of Stumped 2022 here on All India Radio. And a huge thanks to all of you for keeping us company throughout the year on BBC World Service and on the BBC World Service's YouTube channel. We look forward to speaking to you next year. But until then, from me and the whole Stumped team, a very happy new year. Bye-bye.
From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and All India Radio, this is Stumped.